UML component diagram, presented by Carlos Gomez. What is a component diagram? A component diagram describes the organization and wiring of the physical components in a system. Component diagrams are often drawn to help model implementation details and double-check that every aspect of the system's required functions is covered by plan development. When we talk about the physical elements, there's a few physical elements that are included in the component diagram. Those are databases tables, files, documents, executables, and libraries. Component diagram symbols and notations. There are 4 symbols and notations on a basic component diagram. Those are the components, interface, dependencies, and port. Component. A component is a logical unit block of the system. It's a slightly higher abstraction than classes. It is represented as a rectangle with a smaller rectangle in the upper right corner with tabs or the word component written above the name of the component to help distinguish it from a class. Here we have a little representation of a component. This representation has all of the different parts of a component. It has the small rectangle with the tabs on the right corner and the word component written on top of the name of the component. Interfaces. There are 2 types of interfaces represented in a component diagram. The first one is a provided interface, and the second one is a required interface. A provided interface is represented with a straight line from the component box with an attached circle. These symbols represent the interfaces where a component produces information used by the required interface of another component. Required interface. A required interface is represented as a straight line from the component box with an attached half circle. These symbols represent the interfaces where a component requires information in order to perform its proper function. Here we have a small representation of the required interfaces and the provided interfaces. Notice that the required interface is represented with a straight line with a half circle at the end of it. The provided interface is represented with a straight line with a full circle at the end of it. Dependency and port. Dependency. Dependency is represented by a dashed arrow. A dependency is a relationship that signifies that a single or a set of model elements requires other model elements for their specification or implementation. This means that the complete semantics of the depending elements is either semantically or structurally dependent on the definition of the supplier elements. On the right picture on the top, we have a representation of the dependency. Again, it is represented with a dashed arrow. Port. A port is often used to help expose required and provided interfaces of a component. Ports are represented using a square along the edge of the system or a component. On the picture on the side, we see that the port is represented by a little square on the edge of the component. Purpose of a component diagram and when to use it. The purpose is different from all other diagrams. It does not describe the functionality of a system, but it describes the components used to make those functionalities. Thus, From that point of view, component diagrams are used to visualize the physical components in a system. These components are libraries, packages, files, etc. A single component diagram cannot represent the entire system, where a collection of diagrams is used to represent the whole. So if you're trying to represent a whole system using component diagrams, you'll have to use multiple of them. When to use it? Use component diagrams when you want to visualize the components of a system. Construct executables by using forward and reverse engineering, and describe the organization and relationships of the components. Component diagrams make all these three things easy to implement. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.